What up, YouTube? I am your host, Mediocre Total Reviews and Reviews, back in here with one more video. Shout out to my Instagram. Guys, keep on sending me fantastic things to put up on the channel. Wholeheartedly appreciate it. This one comes from Tocarra Comedy. I am not familiar with her. I just checked on her page. She's got like 100,000 subscribers. She's got the blue check mark, which must mean that she's important, right? If you have the blue check mark, right? It's okay to depend on your man. Is it now? All right. Let's get in there without further ado.
So I wanted to say something really quick. I put up a post and it said, you know, women who be like, I don't depend on a man for nothing. And it said, no sis, you don't depend on your man, my man come through. And so many women, especially black women, were bothered and felt the need to DM me in regards to them feeling like you wrong if you depend on a man for anything. But that's the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be able to depend on the person that you are in a relationship with. Imagine giving yourself physically to someone, but you can't depend on them. Now, I'd like it better if someone said, I can't depend on my dude, but to say I can't depend on any dude is insane to me. Because your dude's not doing what he's supposed to do for you, you shouldn't even be with somebody that you can't depend on.
Facts, Tocarra. I appreciate your thoughts. Let's keep going. I want to hear more.
You shouldn't even be in a relationship with somebody you can't depend on. You shouldn't be entertaining a man that you can't depend on. Now, it's not saying that you can't do for yourself. It's not saying you shouldn't be able to take care of yourself. It's saying that you should also be able to depend on that man.
My thing is like when I see Instagram posts like that, I see comments on like that, like, what's the point of being in a relationship, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to be MGT, you know, the word that will get you demonetized on YouTube as a man, right? Like, you don't want a relationship, so you go your own way. So they got it, but you get this other part of, you know, Instagram and YouTube that's just like, well, if you can't depend on a dude, you like on any dude, then why are you in relationships with dude? Like, you need to WTOW, go your own way. But why continue to be in a relationship with someone that you feel like you can't trust? And if it's all men that you feel like that, then why continue to be in a relationship with a man, right? It just sounds like toxicity breeding toxicity, and it makes no logical sense. But let's move on. Let's see what else she has to say.
You know how backwards that is? I'm gonna sleep with you every night, but I ain't gonna ask you, but I'm not going, you know, I'm not gonna depend on you for anything. That's great. If you're in a full committed relationship, an engagement or a marriage, a long-term relationship, you should be able to depend on your spouse. And the idea that you think you shouldn't have to because you could do it yourself, nobody never said you can't do it yourself. But the fact that you would let someone be inside of your body that you can't depend on is insane to me.
Facts.
And women get offended when I say things like this because those are the women who allow a man to be all up in their bedroom, all up in their house, cooking him food, cleaning for him, or even not doing that, but can't depend on him. I don't want to entertain any man that if I'm in a full relationship with you, that I can't depend on you. Why are we entertaining each other in this way?
You know what's interesting about this argument is, like, if you think about, you know, being a strong, independent woman, right? You got to think like to be that, right, and to live that out. And if you are the type that, you know, you don't need a man to do anything, but you seek out these relationships and you want to be strong and independent in those relationships. Again, I question, like, do you want a role, right? Like, or do you just want to be strong and independent in a relationship and expect a dude to accept that and just expect, right, like, that we can't get our needs satisfied of being a provider and a protector, right? And my thing is, like, if you're continuing to choose dudes that you don't believe in, or you feel like you can't depend on, and then want to complain about those same dudes, right? Like, you're just breeding the toxicity. I think what really underpins this toxicity is really just a lack of accountability. If you're choosing people that you feel like that you cannot trust, and let's say they prove to you that you cannot trust them, and then all of a sudden it becomes an all men thing. I mean, come on. You got to be accountable for who you are choosing at the end of the day.
So when women have this idea that they're stronger because they're independent, no, you're weaker because you can't be vulnerable enough to allow someone else the space to depend on them. And it's all...
Oh, that was bars right there. She said you are weaker because you can't allow yourself to be vulnerable. Ooh. I like the way she just articulated that. Let's keep going.
Always, and please don't get me, please don't, I don't want anybody to be offended when I say this, but it's always African American women.
Here's the reason why I like that, is because, you know, we think about this whole difference between femininity and masculinity. I think what's also espoused in this feminism movement is, you know, being feminine and vulnerable and caring and nurturing and understanding and depending on, right, which is different than relying on, right? It's been deemed as being weak, and instead you get these masculine characteristics within women, and right, like it just leads to a breakdown of relationships and eventual toxic relationships because it just doesn't work. So I appreciated the way that she said that, because essentially she's saying is if you don't rely on your femininity, you are thereby weak. Interesting point. Let's move on.
It's always an African American woman who feels like I don't need a man for shit. You know, if you keep that mindset, you grow up and you teach your sons that. Like, your sons are listening to you say, I don't need a man for shit. Your daughters are listening to you say, I don't need a man for shit. And then we wonder why we grow up in the generations and relationships and monogamy is getting worse and worse, because we're teaching our children that there is no value from the man that we call king. We don't need you. Don't depend on nobody for nothing. No, you have to depend on someone for something. And if it's not going to be the person you laying up with, then who else? Because that man sure in hell depend on you. Come on, ladies. It's always African. It's always an African American woman who want to come in my DMs. It's always an African American woman who want to come on. And I'm not knocking African American women. I'm saying it lets me know what the culture is teaching us. It lets me know how society is failing the African American women when they have convinced you that you don't need the African American man to do shit for you. And then we question why men treat us like we don't have value. And then we question why men do this to us and why they're not this for us and why we can't depend, because you have this concept that you don't need them.
Yo, she's speaking bars right now. I think like just the very concept of you wanting and needing a man can make a man feel like a man, can make a man feel like a provider, a protector, and much, much more, right? Like, and that's what femininity is, right? Like, it's a degree, well, part of it is a degree of that, being able to rely on that.
Imagine being a 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid hearing your mother constantly saying, I don't need a man for shit. Like, I'm gonna grow up to be a man, Mom. I'm gonna grow up to be someone's husband, someone's father, someone's boyfriend. And that, you mean to tell me that woman don't need me for shit? Then I'm gonna grow up, you know, that dictates my life.
You know, when she's saying this, I'm just like, God damn, are y'all really being raised in households where your mothers are talking to you about ish like that in that particular way? Because then that just breeds offspring that just have messed up morals, virtues, and values. It absolutely does. I mean, we're all products of our environment. We're all products of our household. We're all products of what we see and the things that we are used to. And if that's what you see, you're a young boy growing up in an environment like that where, you know, you see different men in and out your mom's life, okay, in and out the house. You see your mom taking a stand against those men. It's not healthy relationships. Then you don't have a good start, whether you're a young boy or a young girl. Guys, listen, I'm not going to go through the entirety of this video. It actually has about 10 more minutes. I'll leave a link down in the description box down below if you want to finish out and listen to the things that she is saying. I appreciate her perspective and her saying Listen, it's not cool to be independent no more. I understand her point. Questions, comments, concerns? Y'all already know what to do. Mediocre tutorials and reviews at gmail.com. This was on my Instagram, though. The person that sent it to me. Link down in the description box down below. I got a Patreon as well. The inner circle is constantly building. It's constantly growing. All right? Until next time, YouTube.